Good morning, students. Myself Vinod Bhatti, continuing our chapter number 2, microorganism, friends and fauna. Now, in our previous videos, we have studied about the microorganisms, how the microorganisms are helpful for us and so act as our friend, and microorganisms harmful for us and how they act as our foe, means enemy. Now today we will discuss about the food poisoning. What is food poisoning? The food poisoning means when a person takes a spoiled food which is spoiled due to the action of the microorganisms, and so it gets converted into the poisonous substance, and when we take this type of poisonous food, then we can suffer from a food poisoning. So what is a food poisoning? When a person takes a spoiled food due to the action of microorganisms on food, it becomes poisonous and so causes food poisoning. So what is food poisoning? When a person takes a spoiled food which is being spoiled due to the action of microorganisms, as the microorganisms act on it, they convert this food into the poisonous substances, and as we take these poisonous substances or the spoiled food, we get very severe pain in our stomach, vomiting, diarrhea, etc. That is known as food poisoning. In severe condition, person may die also. Next, the food preservation. The process to preserve the food so that it cannot be spoiled by the microorganisms or others, then it is known as food preservation. We can preserve our food with the help of activities, for example, by adding the common salt, as in raw mangoes, tamarind, amla, etc. They can be preserved by adding common salt with them. As we add the common salt, the microorganism does not act on it and it can be as such for a longer period of time. Next, the sugar. Some of the food items we can preserve by adding the sugar in it. For example, by making the jams and jellies of the fruits, we can preserve them for a long duration of time. Next, oil and vinegar. In cases of some fruits and vegetables, we can preserve them by adding oil and vinegar to it, such as by making the pickles of the fruits such as raw mangoes, lemon, chilies, etc. We can preserve them. Then by adding of the vinegar, due to this the microorganism cannot act on it and the food material can be preserved for a longer time. Next, the cold treatment. The cold treatment, you have observed your mother used to keep the milk inside the freezer, or by heating the milk, due to heating or due to cooling, we can raise the temperature or decrease the temperature. In this way, the microorganism cannot act on the food item and it can be preserved. There is a process, pasteurization process. It is actually in that we will heat the milk up to 70 degree centigrade for 15 to 30 minutes, and immediately after that we chilled it, and due to immediate chilling, the microorganism cannot act on this milk and we can preserve the milk. Next, the storage and packing. As the raw foods such as nuts, almonds, cashew nuts, etc., we can preserve them by packaging them in an airtight container. As we pack them in an airtight container, the microorganism containers, and so it can be prevented or preserved for a longer period of time. So that is our food preservation. So what is food preservation? The food preservation, the process of preserving the food material so that we can use them for a long period of time is called food preservation. We can preserve the food by adding common salt in cases of raw mangoes, tamarind means imli, amla, etc. Second, sugar, by making jellies, jams of fruits, we can preserve the food. Next, the third one, oil and vinegar. Raw fruits such as mango, lemon, chilies, meat, fish, etc. Next, the fourth one, cold treatment. Pasteurization of milk. Fifth, storage and packing. In airtight container. For example, nuts, spices, etc. So that is your food preservation. So these are the process of food preservation. Next, after the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle the process of maintaining the balance of the nitrogen in our ecosystem. It is maintained by the nitrogen cycle. How the nitrogen cycle acts in our ecosystem we will study. In that, the atmospheric nitrogen is being get converted into the nitrogen products such as nitrates or nitrites. The atmospheric nitrogen get converts into the nitrogen products such as nitrates and nitrites with the help of a nitrogen fixing bacteria that are called rhizobium. Rhizobium is a bacteria present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants or the legumes such as pulses and beans. In that root nodules, the nitrogen fixing bacteria are present, which converts the atmospheric nitrogen into the nitrogen products such as nitrates and nitrites, and this process is known as nitrification process. The process of converting of atmospheric nitrogen into the nitrogen products is known as nitrification. That is our nitrification, and these nitrogen products can be taken by the plants. Plants take these nitrogen products in the form of raw material for preparing their food, and these plants can be eaten by the animals such as herbivores, and with them, when these plants and animals get dies, or their waste can be decomposed with the help of the decomposers such as fungi, bacteria and other microorganisms. So the atmospheric nitrogen first of all get converted into the nitrogen products with the help of a nitrogen fixing bacteria known as rhizobium. These rhizobium bacteria are present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. This rhizobium bacteria converts the atmospheric nitrogen directly into the nitrogen products, and this process is known as nitrification. Again, these nitrogen products can be taken by the plants, and these plants consume this nitrogen product as a raw material for preparing their food, and this food can be in the complex form, and these plants can be eaten by the animals as the herbivores, and when the animals eat, the substances get inside the animal's body, the complex substances. Even when the animals and plant waste is present, it can be decomposed with the help of decomposers, and when the plants and animals body dies, their body also decomposes with the help of the decomposer. As decomposers decompose them, this nitrogen again gets converted into the atmospheric nitrogen or nitrogen gas and get into the atmosphere. That is our nitrogen cycle. Again, that is the nitrification. Another process is also there known as ammonification, in which atmospheric nitrogen is directly converted by the bacteria into ammonia, and this ammonia again get converted into the atmospheric nitrogen. The formation of the ammonia from the atmospheric nitrogen is known as ammonification, and the conversion of the ammonia or the ammonium products into again the atmospheric nitrogen or nitrogen gases known as deammonification. And this process through which the plants and animals get converted into the nitrogen by decomposing through the decomposers, and this process is known as denitrification. This process is known as denitrification. So it is our nitrogen cycle. I hope you are able to understand this. Thank you. Have a nice day. Stay home. Stay safe.